Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Please don't forget our U.S. veterans. Growing awareness for veteran suicide. Hashtag 22 a day, no more. Veterans, you always have a place here. There is a number in the description of all of my videos for some good folk that can help you if you are in despair. Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe, everyone. My name is Joe from JS Bladecraft, obviously with my partner and good friend and brother, Scab from Quiet Boys Outdoors. This is a very anticipated show because we are going to be talking with Patrick from Cas Iberia. Before we get into that, guys, a message to our veterans, awareness to our veterans on my channel, especially on Scab's channel, and on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Awareness for hashtag 22 a day, no more. You may know it as hashtag 22 a day. And more importantly, vets, you have a place on our channels and you're welcome always. So, a lot of you guys know that Hanway, if there's a lot of sword people in the room, you know that the Hanway factory finally closed its doors. We're going to have Patrick. We have Patrick backstage from Cas Iberia. No better source to talk about this right now, which is great. And we're really appreciative for Patrick for spending the time and joining us to talk about Hanway, what happened, where we're going, and especially the models that might be coming back. So let's get the boys into the room and let's get Blade Talk on the roll here. And again, thank you for everyone in the chat that has been waiting a little bit, and let's get it going. So welcome, gentlemen. Patrick and Scab. Scab, get back. Wait.
Hello, everyone. Where'd Scab go?
I don't know. I just kind of put him in, but now he's not taking. Hold on. Technology
is great when it works.
Yeah, isn't technology great? Especially because we've been on. Hold on, let me try remove and add in. You know what, Scab? Log out and log back in again. Welcome, Patrick. Thanks for joining us, buddy. I appreciate it.
I remember the first time I did a podcast too.
It's like, yeah, we've been on. We've been on for a good 15 minutes, just bullshit, and all of a sudden now we want it to work and it doesn't work. Isn't that just the way it always is?
That's just how.
So you've been busy, huh?
Man, that's a little bit of an understatement.
That vacation you took, you're really paying for it, huh?
There's a lot of truth in that statement.
Yeah.
I had I didn't get to take a whole lot of vacation in 2024. And so it was kind of like the last half of December, I was on vacation. So I come back on like January 3rd, and Krista, our GM, sits me down and goes, "It happened." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, it's official." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." So that was my January 3rd.
Yeah.
So it was it was a very sad day for us. End of an era, this, so to speak.
Well, you know what? Before I definitely want to hear your sentiment, but let's backtrack a little bit for the people that may not know. Okay, let me see if I can get Scab back in. All right, here we go. Here you go, buddy.
He lives.
We got you, buddy. We got you.
Yeah, I'm having some real issues, man.
You're good now. You're clear now. You're good.
Apologize.
Yeah, no worries. You're good. You're clear. Actually, a lot clearer now.
Okay.
Anything of any importance, I promise.
Yeah. Let's backtrack a little bit now with the closing, as far as what led to Hanway's closing, and then just take it from there, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, there was not any one factor
that a lot of things
caused them to close. I mean, it's been a multitude of issues, and we put out in the press release. I don't know, it's been 2 weeks ago now. I mean, it was a lot of things. There's so much that goes into making a sword. And I would say a lot of the problems really started snowballing back during COVID. A lot, they're a forge and they purchased a lot of things, from different sources there in China. And when COVID hit, there was a lot of places that, a lot of businesses that they did a lot of sourcing from that went out of business. The Suka Ito and the Sageo and all those things, they had to resource all over again. And, China has its own economic woes going on right now. They're probably in the greatest, whether their government will admit it or not. And I'm not here to speak about politics, but I mean, they're in one of the greatest economic crises of their time. With the evergreen situation, it's kind of tanked their economy because it's a real estate based economy. So and then you got the war in Ukraine, that's driving steel supplies, the cost of steel up, supply issues of every kind. They've had, labor difficulties, because, they have modernity there too. They got a generation of young people who don't want to do a hard, dirty, sweaty job. They want to sit in comfy offices and do office work. So the same issue that we have here in America.
Right.
But, and then there was, government regulations that were coming in, and, China, it's kind of ironic, they're throwing up, coal power plants all over the place, but they're cracking down on businesses for pollution and things like that. So, I mean, it was a huge thing that just started snowballing back in.
I think it started with the fire, with that big factory
Well,
fire.
you could go back that far too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had the factory fire in 2011, and they never quite recovered from that, to be honest.
A lot of people say that. Yeah.
I have to say, I got a little bit of a unique perspective because I worked for the company from 1999 to 2006. And then I was gone from 2007, and I came back in 2015. So I've seen the company 4 years. I was at Cas during the golden era of swords, and then there was 4 years from 2006 until the factory fire, when 2008 was tough on the sword industry to begin with, and then they topped that off with the factory fire, and then I saw them from 2011 trying to recoup from the factory fire till I came back in 2015. So I've seen the company from both the inside, the outside, and now I'm back on the inside again. And I say that in order to point out the fact that the Hanway of before, when I was there the first time, and the Hanway that was there when I came back in 2015, two very different companies. And I remember I sent Paul Chen an email saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm back with the company." He's like, "Well, it's great to have you back. I'm retired, hope things go great." So there, you could also go as far as to say, because when Frenchie left, Jen, who owns Dragon King, who's he was a major part of their history, and was the engineer and a lot of the design, did a lot of the designing of the products, back in that day. So you lost Paul, you lost Frenchie, you had all this stuff going on. I mean, it was a perfect storm of things just to go wrong. So
it's actually surprising that they didn't close up sooner with everything that was going on, that they even lasted this long.
Well, I mean, that's anybody's guess on, or that's speculation at this point, but the product is so beloved.
It is.
The models are iconic. And I mean, Hanway up until a certain point was pretty unstoppable.
Demand has never stopped. I can't tell you how many people I've been talking about
just desperately wanting to know if this particular model is going to be reproduced, and more importantly, is it going to be improved or redesigned? I mean, people pretty excited about the advent as far as where it's going from here. Scab, I'm sorry, you had to say something? Oh, I thought you were chiming in. So where are we from here? So now Hanway closed. Frenchie's
Yep.
there with you. Where are we going with Hanway?
Well, I'm going to back up. I'm going to back up just a little bit. We, as we stated in our press release, we saw this coming. So, we've been slow. Over the years, we've taken steps to expand brands and things like that, because no company should have their eggs in one basket. So we've over the years we've been developing brands like Kingston Arms. There was Legacy Arms that was acquired, and there's the Citadel brand of swords and knives, and then Dragon King came along, which was one of the main reasons why I came back to the company to help launch it. So the diversification since I came back in 2015, has helped, Cas overall, as far as developing and expanding our product lines. But in Frenchie, who, who was the integral part of Hanway, he came back into the industry to make swords again, because that was his passion. That's what he and Paul shared, was a passion for, what they call cold weapons, So, I mean, so Frenchie is very much ready and able to take up the production of Hanway brand swords, because Frenchie was the original engineer to begin with, from like the 1000, from the Shinto on.
Yeah.
Who let the dogs out? So, but there's not another person on the planet that knows these products more intimately than him.
Yeah.
Because when Barry Ross, our founder, and Paul Chen got together and to dream up whatever it is that they were going to make, it was Frenchie and our current GM Krista, who would get together after these two had their brainstorming sessions and putting all their ideas together. They're the ones that had to sit down and say, well, how are we going to actually do this? So Frenchie, I mean, I don't know how many people realize it, but the Shinto Suba, the Golden Oriole Suba, all those classic Suba designs are Frenchies.
Right.
So
yeah, no, he did a great job with those guards. He really did.
And Paul, Paul was the driving force.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to downplay, Paul's influence on any of it at all. I mean, he was the one that was spurring it on. But you have to have that person behind, like Steve Jobs, with Apple. I'm sure there was some engineer that was behind Steve Jobs, helping him create his vision. And Frenchie was Paul's guy.
Exactly. Yeah, he was the guy. Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, no. And now, as far as so basically, he's going to take. Now, when you say he's taking over the line, what do you mean by that? So now there, obviously, there's a million Hanway models. We have the European models. We have the Japanese. Don't you have some axes and stuff like that from Hanway? Yeah. I mean, there's just it just goes on and on in terms of the inventory. So
well, let me dial your number. Let me dial your number in just a little bit. There is not a million models. It's over 200 products. Now, a lot of those products are predominantly swords.
Right.
There are some accessories. There are some axes. There are some pole arms. There are some stands. There's maintenance kits, sword oil, tinker nuts. I mean, there's a whole host of other things that Hanway made. And they made some Kingston Arms products too. So that's, there's that as well. So Frenchie I mean, Cas Hanway is a brand. Cas Hanway is a brand of swords. And we are going to continue to manufacture that brand of swords. And Frenchie, the guy, the man, the myth, and the legend who originally helped Hanway create the vision for those products, is the one who's taking over the production in his factory. Literally, the Dragon King factory is just right down the road from Hanway. I mean, they're literally they're in the same town, literally, I think, if I'm not mistaken, just right down the road.
Now, is
So
it his?
how many people?
Go ahead, Skip.
How many people got fired, or did they get fired?
Well, fired is not the term. They were laid off.
Well,
I
I'm
can't give you
moving
an
to.
exact number on that.
Well, I'm moving
because
to a
I
point.
honestly don't know.
I'm moving to a point with it. So they
Sure.
no longer have jobs, correct?
Well, hopefully, most of them will get absorbed by Dragon King. Hopefully, if they've not moved on already.
All we ever hear is how we're feeding the fucking communist government. So what I'm asking you is the communists, should they just go work for somebody else?
Well, they're gonna find other jobs.
Is their government going to put them in other jobs?
I don't think their government had a whole lot to do with their employment.
Okay.
I
got you. That was not being an ass to you. That it's intriguing to me because of everything that goes on. And so, these folks are losing their jobs or they're losing their jobs. Right?
Yeah.
So my thing is this, for everybody who's always, pumping this narrative that, well, it's all going to the state, it's all going to the state, it's all going to the state. Well, if it was all going to the state, they'd just put them all picking potatoes. I guess that's what so these folks are getting shut down. The other folks are going to absorb some of that line, take some of the employees. Will that factory then just be closed?
Well, the factory is the Hanway factory itself is closed. It's chained shut, and I'm assuming that space will get reallocated to some other business to do whatever there.
Okay.
But to answer your question about the employees at Hanway's peak, I think there were over 300 that work there, and and to me that is really the tough part of it.
Yeah,
because a lot of those people who work there had worked there for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and and Frenchie hired a lot of those people originally too, and we know the names of several. I don't know them all. We don't know them all, but Frenchie will do what he can to absorb as many people as he needs, because he's literally got to double his production overnight.
Yeah, that was my question too, right?
Yeah, but he, as we were, rolling for the last few years, as we saw this coming, Frenchie was, we've had him preparing for this moment, because, it was like, it's coming, the struggle was obvious. And, and that's the sad part about this whole thing, is that a lot of the Hanway employees, were longtime employees. We're talking people that have been there 25 years, maybe or more, and because, Dalian is in northern China. There's not a whole lot, from what I understand. I've not been there. And the last time I think anybody from Cas was there was in 2018, I think.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of, the reason why Paul went there was because Dalian had a history for making steel, and Paul kind of revitalized that whole area, that whole region, when he started Hanway, to get, to revive that culture, a historical culture of making steel in that part of the country. And he succeeded. and he succeeded in that. So, but I'm not sure, what's going to happen. I mean, I would say most of the people have probably, if they've not found work, they will find work eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand most of the people in China work 6 days a week, opposed to us who work 5, and in Europe 4 at best, or 3. So, but there's probably a lot of those folks probably moonlit jobs too. I mean, I can only guess, can speculate, but they a lot of times work more than one job.
Yeah.
And they're good people. They're just like us. They're just people trying to work hard to provide for their family.
Mhm.
And that's the tough part, because we know that that China's already struggling.
Well, with that, the truth is this: somebody else will make swords, somebody else will make steel. It'll always continue. Regardless of their ideology, I don't want to see anybody lose a job. And when the press release came out, that's what I started thinking about. They already have a tough situation now. It got tougher. And so my thing is too, we're all pro-American. We live here. But at the same time, I think light needs to be shed on the truth, and the correct narrative needs to come out. Without it, it's pointless. Without it, it's just noise. So thank you for taking the time. And I wasn't trying to put you on the spot there. There's so many fallacies, that people just regurgitate. So there's a human factor here, and I hate to hear that. And there's probably a lot of skilled labor there.
Well, a lot of these guys and gals there are skilled artisans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're doing things that you can't do with a machine. So
right.
But yeah, I'm glad you did say. I kind of got in. I was monitoring the discussion about Hanway's closing on Sword Forum, and I got into my feels a little bit because everybody's talking about product and this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, you do know people lost their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of regretted it after I did it, because I don't think at first some of the people comment didn't realize who I was. It's like, well, who are you to say this? Well, I work for the company, so I kind of know a little bit what's happening there. But it's tough. It's tough. Anytime I don't care if it's a competitor or anything like that. Anytime a cutlery company closes, to us, it diminishes the industry. I remember where I was when Schrade Knives closed. When I got that news, I was in New York City, and I remember I was on a bus headed to the Javits Center, and somebody was telling, it's like, Schrade Knives is closed, and I was getting the whole story, and I'm like, God, that sucks. Because that was a iconic American knife brand. Thanks, Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just hope people have the same amount of compassion, for those people that they would if it were American factory. That's my 2 cents.
They don't.
They don't. They actually don't. But I was hoping that, like you kind of shed light. I was hoping that he would absorb a lot of the artisans that come, because his Dragon King is also another brand. He does a lot of stuff on his own. So some people were asking also, is it going to affect the Dragon King line, since Frenchie's basically taking care of Dragon King? Is that going to suffer? Is it going to suffer any losses as far as the quality and the QC? Nope. I can't imagine it would. And if he is going to basically absorb some people in from Hanway, at least he has the people that have been working on the swords already on board.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be able to pick. I'm sure has picked or is in the process of picking whatever talent that he needs to have. I don't know. I haven't asked. We had a Zoom call, I forget what, a few weeks ago with them, and I didn't ask the question, but I'm sure I have no doubts that he is absorbing as many people as he possibly can, because again, he's got to double his production almost overnight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Now, will he take that equipment? And are there molds there? Are there molds for Hanway that he will have to keep the
Bring
things
the
going? Or-
forge over.
there is tooling there. The problem with the tooling that exists is it's very old.
Mm.
Yeah.
And probably should have, some of it probably should have been retired already. And per conversation, there's a lot of it that he can't use because it is old. And for our purposes to improve what the products are, we're retooling most of it. We'll probably wind up retooling most of it. Because I mean, if you think about like stuff like the Shinto katana, I mean, you're talking about a product that's been around since 1998.
Yeah.
And the only revision, I mean, and I've got like a dozen samples, prototypes going all the way back to then at the warehouse. You know, nothing's really changed as far as the Suba design goes. It's just it went from a bronzy type color to a blackened Suba. So you know, a lot of the tooling needs to be redone, and it needs to be fresh. You know, because and like I said, you know, I was back when it was. I remember when it was new, looking at the fittings and things like, man, you know how crisp they are, and there's nothing wrong with it now. But you know, with the Frenchie's factories, newer technology, newer, you know, it just a lot of that's. I can't remember exactly what the number is, but it was pretty a small percentage that was actually usable for him. So the tooling doesn't really do us any good, you know, a lot of it.
Patrick, Todd Carr was asking if you ever physically was able to visit the factory yourself at any point.
No, I have not had a chance. I see photos and video all the time. You know, Frenchie has promised he's going to make sure that we have video available. This is part of the things, one of the things that we discussed in our Zoom call that we had, because there's some things that we want to show people how it's made, so people can appreciate how it's made, and there's not a machine or a robot there stamping these things out. You got skilled artisans, doing this stuff by hand.
And I'm so glad you said that, because this is a conversation I wanted to have with you, considering everything's going to Frenchie, that I would love to have footage like that to be able to put into the videos, because people, I would like to be able to show behind the scenes how these swords are made, because it's something that you don't normally see. And now that basically it's going into a newer shop, Frenchie's got some updated equipment. And yeah, that would be an excellent thing for you guys to be able to produce some, or them anyway, produce some videos.
No, it's all a part of the plan.
Yeah.
Is to show, how some of this stuff gets made, because and Paul did that too. He did a, I don't know if y'all remember the DVD or not that Paul did. He did one where he was, showing them forging a blade. And
I seen that a long time ago.
Yeah, it's talk about a classic. I need to find it, rip it, put it on the YouTube channel.
YouTube, yeah.
But no, we have always, when we were talking about Dragon King, and one of the, when I came back, was that we are not just talking about a factory. We're talking about artisans. Bonnie who does like Sageos and handle wraps and stuff like that, and a host of other people that have just got this unique skill set that only a few people can do. So, but no, I maybe one day here in the future, I don't know. I would like to go to China. I'd like U.S. and China relations to be a little bit more settled before I put myself in that part of the world right now. Now, I will say this: if you're coming to the Blade Show in June, Frenchie is coming back this June. He was here last June at the Blade Show. We are trying to get visas and all that stuff prepared for him to be at the Blade Show this year. So if you missed him last year, here's your chance to meet him again this year. Blade Show in Atlanta.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
God willing, we'll make it there this year, definitely.
No, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. We got to get on that. I'm going. You are too. So we'll just go there.
Y'all need to plan a day where y'all can come up to the warehouse, Cass.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there. Y'all have a standing invite, but
We can do that. That'd
probably
be cool,
after
Joe.
the
You
show
can
would probably
see all
make more
kind of
sense.
stuff.
Well, if I'm driving, then I could do that. If I'm driving, I got to see if I'm going to fly or drive this time around. We got to figure something like that
Well,
out.
if you fly, I'll pick you up. And we'll just spend the day up there. That's
Okay.
easy. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
figure it out.
So Patrick, let me ask you this: with the fire in 2011, because things happen and you get pictures in your mind, how because we're talking about hurt the business, so hurt the bit. Did it devastate the factory? Was it a portion of the factory? What? And I hate going back in time, but
Sure.
it would give a little clarity.
I was not with the company at that time, but from my understanding and from what I was told, the factory itself completely burned to the ground. Now,
Yeah.
there was tooling that was in a storage building that was not affected, because they don't keep all, not all the tooling is on the production floor at the same time.
Mhm.
But, from what I understand, it burned to the ground. The other effect of the fire that a lot of people don't know is that I think it scared Paul. It took a lot out of him, because it was pretty devastating. I know there was a machine there that did like the aqueous coating. It was like $100,000 machine, and just it burned up. And I think there were some insurance issues or something like that they couldn't replace it.
Oh,
Or
man.
I don't know. There's so much about that fire that it was. Again, I was not there, and I just get
Yeah.
bits and pieces of the story. But from what I do gather, it did significant damage. They lost a lot of equipment they couldn't replace, and I think it took the wind out of Paul's sails for sure.
That'd be hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, to
Oh, yeah.
see your life's work go up,
That's a big
I
hit.
didn't realize it had burned to the ground. I didn't want to go back, but it does give some clarity to that in the discussion as well.
Sure.
Well, it was there. Then with supply issues, and then COVID was a big hit. So it was just basically one bang, 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 one thing after another. Then finally they decided that's it. This is the time.
Yeah.
But listen, the important thing is that the Hanway brands, or at least, would you say most of the brands that are
Yeah,
popular?
most of the swords will continue to be produced. Obviously your practical katana, it's kind of one of our top 10 products.
It's
they're
hanging
working
over my
on.
bed at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. Practical katana. Most of your sword products are going to be made. The question is a matter of when, and getting a production schedule going to where we can get everything back into production. So, to answer your question from prior,
Yes.
what's going on with the Hanway brand is not going to affect Dragon King or any of the other. We still have new products planned to come out this year. Again, we've been preparing for this. It was just something we just knew we're like, if this happens, what are we going to do? And that's kind of how we did it. That's just, we were just waiting for the news that, okay, it's closed. Okay, here's the plan. All right, now we're in the process of implementing the plan. So,
And that's what you have to do.
Mhm.
yeah, there was nothing anybody could do to stop it. So, I would easily say 90% of the swords will probably get produced
Good.
again.
That's actually pretty good.
There will be some outliers that'll probably go away. Now I did take about 10 products off the website last week. Those products were mainly pole arms The Naginata that everybody loves, the SH1020. I would like to bring it back eventually, but it's just not going to happen anytime soon. They struggle to keep those supplied to us, and shipping them is a nightmare. They have a tendency to get broken for whatever reason during shipping. We had these hard tubes that we shipped them in, and it's still a little bit of a issue. So a lot of the pole arms have disappeared from the website.
Yeah.
SH1078, which is a Viking spear. So those are going away for right now. They may come back later. They may just come back as this, like the head.
Right.
And but I don't know yet. Those are not the bread and butter core products like practicals and the practical pluses or the.
So just to bring some clarity into what you're saying here now, because and this will probably answer everyone's question. If people were to go to the Cas Iberia site right now and look up Hanway or look up Hanway products, the products that you have listed are the products that are going to be continued.
Most of the products are going to be continued.
Whatever they can physically.
The item numbers will change.
Okay.
Item numbers are going to change. So I'm don't hold me to this. This is not the gospel, but I'm hoping by March, by the beginning of March, we will have at least our first. We have some now, but it's only like 7 products we got new item numbers for. But hopefully by March 1st, we'll have our first revised price list for our dealers. Okay. And then they'll be on the website. You've asked a couple of times about improvements and modifications, and I just haven't gotten to answering what are we going to improve yet. But the panic that people seem to have is like they're not going to be able to get these things again, and that's not the case.
Okay.
We have a pretty our warehouse is it's getting reduced because there's a lot of panic buying going on right now. But we got a pretty good selection of inventory in the warehouse. There is a container coming here in a couple of weeks, which is the last official Hanway container from that factory. Then we got a bumper shipment coming from our sister company in the UK, who's pretty much just sent us what they had because the UK laws there have pretty much made selling swords in the UK impossible for them. So that's coming around mid-March.
Oh wow! Also, that's physically sending you their inventory because they can't sell them there.
Yeah, and it's active on the site. If you go to the Cas Iberia website and you're looking, you're going to see 2 dates. You're going to see like February 26th, and I think the other dates like March 14th, 3/14. So I mean, it's indicated. If it's coming back into stock, or we're going to have stock on it, it will say available on such and such date. So we got 2 shipments coming,
Good.
And then, for if there's any dealers watching, Blue Ridge Knives, who's one of our distributors, has a fair amount of inventory as well. So, and there's a lot of our stocking dealers have bought inventory. So just because you don't see it on the Cas site, that doesn't mean one of our dealers does not have it.
Doesn't have it.
So,
right.
Hold
that thought, Patrick. Guys, APOC is not affected by this because APOC was not made by Hanway, the Hanway factory. APOC was made with Dragon King. So APOC was not affected by this. So your APOC stuff is still fine and going strong and being sold.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people been asking.
Yeah, we have several new APOC products coming out this year.
Good. We got to talk about that.
And our buddy Scab has been field testing the first round of the Mike Wallace Puku knives.
This is the large one.
Yeah.
Hey, question, and I meant to ask you. On the Joe, I'm gonna kill you. Here's the knife, which I absolutely adore. The ergos of the handle. I like that it's the Puko style blade, but the handle makes this particular model makes the knife really conducive. And this is an APOC, but I was going to ask you, is this a knife sharpener or is this the strike with their rod?
It's just a striker.
Okay. Because I was
the
thinking,
fire
what
sale.
in the hell? Which makes sense, right? But
Yeah.
I used this and struck it. And I was going to say too, there are some really good videos out there. I don't have one, but there are some good videos of taking a file, guys. If you wanted to do this, you could take a file and you just go one way across. You don't bring it back. You go one way across and sharpen that. In the bushcraft community, bless their souls, they like that 90-degree spine. And this one is close. This one is close. But either today, probably this weekend, I want to take a file. But I was wondering, because I thought, man, that's a great idea on a sharpener. And then when I was messing with it, the tech lock got in the way. I said, well, it's probably a striker. But here's the larger one, which and the sharpness was on point. I was really impressed with that. And then this one, the smaller Puko, and I'll do a size comparison. I was not excited about doing the small one, but I'm not a small knife guy. But I'm going to tell you, this was impressive for the amount of work that it did and the ease of use. This thing right here and different carry options that I thought about while using it. It can be a neck knife. It can be a pocket fixed blade. This thing, I love them both. I'll carry this one. But this thing, I was really, really impressed with the versatility of it. And the same thing, well, with the ferro rod, you can strike it if you need to. I do like the sheaths on both. For me, it's perfect. That tech lock, it rides high on the hip. I like that a lot. But I like too that you got it Molly compatible. If somebody wants to go scout carry, they can do that. Belt carry, however you want to do it. And then the smaller Puko is the exact same way.
What we got to do is we need to get Mike Wallace on here and I need to connect y'all so y'all can actually have Mike on here. What a lot of people don't know, and I know people want to talk about Hanway, but I want to talk about APOC for a minute while we're talking about it. We took 2 years to develop these knives with Andrew and Mike. I mean, this was not something that we just, there's probably a dozen prototypes, back at the warehouse. We spent our sweet time getting these right. So there was a lot of work in getting those to what they are.
There was a lot of good feedback on the handle, because with a Puko, typically you have that rounded, and listen, and for you guys in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat, I'm sorry, but for you guys in the chat, I know we live in the internet age where everything's got to be a sharpened pry bar. This is really, truly, honestly, it's got plenty of thickness, and the tip's reinforced. I like that. But the truth of the matter is, you can do anything you need to do with this knife, and it's a cutting tool. It came sharp. I can't say that enough. That was a great bonus. But the ergos here, if you need to stab, return it to you and stab, is really, really conducive. I'm really impressed with the handle. Really impressed. And with that Puko style, there's so much work you can do with a Puko anyway. Make the handle ergo, and you bring it more into the modern age. I really like that combo. And pretty good price point on it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One of the things that Mike Wallace and I share is an appreciation for historical pieces brought into modern context. And I cannot wait for you to get your hands on the Smash It.
Oh, I saw that.
Yes, you're gonna well, you and Joe are gonna have plenty of things to be looking at here soon.
Smash it.
I like that.
Smash it.
Yeah,
that's a beast. And now, the Hanway factory shipping the Cas Hanway product to the Dragon King factory is not going to affect product development on the other brands at all. We still have lots of new products coming out this year. We got several new APOC models coming out. We got some Kingston Arms stuff in development.
Good.
There's
I like the Kingston Arms stuff.
There was some Dragon King stuff in development. everybody. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Everybody's going to get that differentially tempered winter sun katana that you've been wanting.
Okay.
And
Differential
I've
tempered.
extended the blade. I've asked to extend the blade length out to 31 inches. So,
Nice.
Matthew's gonna like that one.
so
Actually,
yeah.
Matthew's in the chat, and I know exactly what he was going to ask, and
Yeah.
he wants to know what will happen to the bamboo mat.
What will happen to the bamboo mat? Yeah. He just didn't want to save this from when I get to go slip over there, huh? Well, the bamboo mat will obviously come back. There's no doubt about that. The question on the bamboo mat and several of the katana is, what blade steel will it be?
Right.
So, and this is a question I did ask Frenchie, and I do have an answer. The proprietary steels, the HWS1 and HWS2, obviously he was the engineer behind those. And from what I understand, the biggest thing with those, he knows how to make the steel. The steel is not the issue. It's having the equipment to do the proper heat treat to make those special. So the bamboo mat will probably be in a later production once we figure out, did we call that blade steel the same thing that it once was? Because it's not really made by Hanway anymore. So do we I don't know. It's almost more of a marketing question than a production question.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Yeah.
Because I mean, he can make the steel. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not that big of an issue.
Well,
He knows how to make it. He knows what it is. We've discussed all the fine points of it, but it's really what makes the bamboo mat and all those models with that proprietary steel of Hanway's is the heat treat. And it sounds.
Matthew's also going to want to ask Frenchie if he could only use one steel in the zombie apocalypse, what would it be? So if you'll ask Frenchie that, Matthew and I, that would be great.
I'll ask,
Yeah,
I'll ask him in person when we go there, Bleach. How's that?
Yeah, he'll probably go, what? What? But no, I mean, it's it's just a matter of what do we call it? We may, you got to remember at the time when a lot of this stuff like the K120C and all that was being used, 20 years ago, the steel supply for swords was very different. If you look in the old Cas catalogs, you notice that the steel was never specified. And a lot of times it was because it could be different from shipment to shipment. And so, the first time we really started specifying blade steel was the ASAP K120C, because it was a consistent and pure steel. Well, there's better options now. There's better options on the market. So why would we continue to use that old steel type? Because back in the day, it served its purpose.
It's funny that you say that, because today, if God forbid a manufacturer doesn't mention exactly the steel that's on there, the term is, oh, it's got mystery steel. We don't really know what it is. It's a mystery steel. Yeah. Actually, Skygiro is popular for that right now, because Skygiro never really mentions exactly what the steel is.
Is it Valiant Armory or one of them that says they don't specify their steel either?
There's some companies that still don't, but people get all bent out of shape when they don't know exactly what the steel. I mean, I really don't care that much. I'm not one of those that really, it's got to be this steel for this. I really don't care that much. It's about the brand, and I think the manufacturer and how they treat it. But it's funny that you say that, because now today is totally different with the brands and how they have to map market.
Patrick, what was the steel on these?
D2.
D2?
Yeah, it's D2.
Okay. For whatever reason, I put the link in the damn description and never looked at it. I don't know. I don't care as much about steel. well, you know, going into the reviews and things like that, I always never look them up because I want to kind of see what the designer was thinking, see if I can figure it out. And that one, it just really got away from me. But they're both D2. It held up well.
Yeah,
Held
I
up
mean,
really
all
well.
the Kinsler Supreme knives that we used to sell were D2, and they were tough. And D2s, you know, it's something that is universally accepted as a good steel for knives. So, you know, normally we would on the APOC knives we would do normally on the APOC swords we do 9260.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this was kind of one of the first. These the Mike Wallace and the Andrew Demko knives are kind of our first departure from that. So
Now we haven't seen the Demko knives yet.
yeah, they're on the website. I mean, you can go look at them, but you've not put your hands on them yet. They'll be
Okay.
here in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
And then you can put your hands all over them.
Okay.
So we'll check
Yeah,
that.
looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
But
Hey, the A trim cutlass that you sent me, was that Kingston Arms?
Yep.
Dude, I love that thing, man.
I'm waiting for a video where you're
love
doing
that
some
brand.
serious bashing with it.
I'll get one coming. I'll tell you the truth. I cut a couple bottles with it. I love the weight. I love the feel. The sheath is insane. The sheath really, or I'm sorry, the scabbard, whatever y'all call it. But I'm gonna grab it real quick, Joe, because that to me like made, I don't know, it just pulled everything in. Let me grab it.
Go ahead. So here's the version 1. No, yeah, this is the version 1, version 2 of the modern Wakizashi from Dragon King. Now the additional here with the bohie. Now also it's a longer blade. It's about a half inch or 3/4 of an inch longer. It's definitely a longer blade. And I don't know if this is by accident, but I feel like the polish job on this is better than the other one. I mean, I see it's hard for you to see on.
Well,
on
that's
the
what we've
live.
been talking about. You know, this is what we've been talking about. You know, is improving the polish on things. And this
Do you
is,
see the difference?
yeah,
It's definitely, I noticed it right off the bat. The Hamon, everything is a lot more prominent. And just adding that bohie, it just adds so much aesthetic and to the use of the blade. And I think this thing did a really good job. I really was very happy with it.
I'm glad. Scab. I'm very glad that I'm really looking forward to watching your video on using that, because I thought, man, if there was a piece in Kingston Arms that spoke Scab to me, it was that one.
Man, I tell you the truth, and I'll be real honest with you. I've put off doing it for selfish reasons, right? Because I've just enjoyed it. But
Right.
The sheath,
It's beautiful.
dude. I mean, it's like, and when I do the video, I'll make sure it's outside so you get the lighting. But the weight, the balance, the whole thing. I think what I'm gonna do, Patrick, is get out in the swamp and use it in that. And one of my favorite, I love history and I know this isn't a historical cutlass. However, one of my favorite historical accounts is when the pirates crossed Panama to invade the city. And so I thought I'd do a video similar to that, cut through vines, cut through some trees, cut through stuff like that, and kind of use it in that way. But this thing, it's different. It's really, really different. And I think they did a great job with it.
Well, that particular piece is that Gus Trim piece is kind of more of an imagination. It's not historical in the sense of. I mean, it was like this could have been. It might have existed, but when you do stuff like Cass does, there's a tendency to get shackled to, well, if it wasn't made, if there's not a historical version of it that you're copying, then it can't be a real sword. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of.
I get a real. And the reason I brought that up is I get a real, I don't know, like a pipe vibe. While it might be a little longer than what they would have used, it just, I don't know, and it just kind of screamed with the handguard, the cut, the whole thing. And it's a heavy hitter, but it swings true, and I've cut a couple bottles, and everything was like on point. I want to stab some tires with it. I'll try to do that this weekend. But I really like this.
How much flex does it have when you move it?
Little.
No, not too much. Okay.
What's the thrusting?
No, I mean, no, it's
Thrusting
not a
shot.
machete. I mean, and I know you weren't saying it was, Joe, but it's
Oh yeah, I'm seeing the spine. Okay, I didn't see the spine. All right, I got it. Yeah,
But
no, that's a hunk of steel there.
it is, but it's well balanced. It's
Yeah.
well weighted, and it's a ton of fun, man. I mean, I don't have the experience, Joe, that you and Matthew do with swords, so it's hard for me like to compare it to anything. But at the same time, it has just a real, and I've said it several times, I'll say it again, heavy hitter, like it'll
Yeah.
go through
Fine.
the vines, it'll go through the palmettos,
Yeah.
it'll go through some smaller, it'll go through your hand, it'll go through,
That's
know.
a perfect swamp killer.
Yeah.
That'll do so good in the swamp. The
It's a
palmetto
lot
and
easier.
pines.
Insanely
Beautiful. I really like Kingston Arms. I like their brand. I do a lot.
Yeah.
You're gonna love the shell guard cutlass that's coming in a few weeks. That one, to me, of all the cutlass stuff that we've done so far, the shell guard one that's coming out is, man. We went through 2 prototypes on that one, and we nailed it on the second.
Nice.
It is gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and it just handles like butter.
Really. Well, this
All right.
one does too. I'm curious to see that one because I love cutlass. I love everything about it. It's dope.
Well, as we,
I'll see if I can take crafters through the swamp with it.
I'm anxious to see what happens.
Yeah, no, I want to see that
I'll
too.
get on it this weekend. I've been trying to. I wanted to get the knives done, and then, like I said, it's just selfish. It really is. But I've been thinking a lot, and now that it's kind of warmed up, our winter's long gone. There will be plenty of vines I can cut through. It ought to be fun.
Practice safety.
Always.
I'm very happy that you
Probably.
went this long on there, Scab. That's very nice to hear. I just finished shoveling. I just finished shoveling just before, so I'm very happy to know that you went this long
Yeah,
gone.
I think it's like 85 today.
God bless. Who is it from Daytona Beach that always tells me, "Oh, come down to 85 today"? The mayor. What was his name?
Yeah.
But so as far as the also, guys, there was a couple people, Patrick, in the chat. If you guys have any, listen, this is who you need to speak to. This is Patrick. He'll answer customer service. So if you have any issues with anything you bought, any swords you got that are not to your satisfaction, something's wrong with them, give them a call. They're very easy to reach. I mean, that's the beauty of Cas Iberia is you have a phone number there. You call them up. You'll probably get Patrick on the phone, and he'll guide you through as far as any issues you may have. But I just want to address that really quick. Now, moving forward, give us an idea, general, of obviously you don't have any dates. Give us an idea when Hanway #2, version 2, new Hanway models are going to start rolling in. You think like by the late summer, the fall, like what do you perceive?
Sure. I mean, currently our plan is to hopefully have our first shipments by late summer. I mean, a lot of those products are, in production. I mean, they're retooling. Once the tooling's done, they'll get it on the floor, and then they'll start. I mean, obviously, probably the first few products you're going to see are going to be like the 1070, the Practical Katana, the Practical Plus. Obviously, I have no concerns whatsoever with Frenchie's ability to make katana. That is, I mean, that would be like questioning Einstein's physics. So I'm not going to do that. So you will probably see the first batch of products hitting sometime in, I would say, August. It all depends.
Okay.
It really all depends on how everything kind of comes together over the next 4 weeks will really tell. but you also have to factor in, we got a little bit of a trade war going on right now, so that's going to affect things a little bit. Obviously, there's a 10% tariff now on things, so that's going to affect price. Nothing we can do about that. We haven't had a price increase.
It looks higher. It looks like it's going to be higher than the 10.
I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had a price increase in a couple of years, so not really thrilled about that. Nothing I can do about it, but it is what it is. Now, the main thing that people need to understand is that there's not going to be like 24 products hitting at one time. It's going to be like 6 here, 5 there, maybe 10 there. There's not going to be right now. Don't hold me to this. I think there's like 70 products right now that are out of stock until this container gets here, and not all of those are going to be fulfilled. So, so I mean, it's going to be in pieces, and it's not going to be like a whole swath of SKUs that are going to be coming back at one time. It's going to be a little bit at a time, and part of that reason is because we're trying to, again, I'm not trying to dodge this question. We are trying to make improvements on some of the product. What products are you trying to improve? Well, I'm trying to improve most of them. And probably the one that you would probably find the most interest in is let me ask the question.
Yeah.
On the SH1070, the practical katana, if you could make one improvement to it, what would it be?
On the practical, the practical XL?
No, just the practicals, just the practical, the SH1070, practicals in general. What's the number one complaint about those?
The fit and finish, just like the Suba, the crochet, the Ito tightness or the handle. But other than that, I wouldn't change the blade for nothing. I love the blade.
Well, we're not going to change the blade.
No.
But what about it? Suka shape? Yeah, that's some things that we're looking at.
The shape is a little axe handle-ish. If they made that a little bit more form to the hands, I think it'll be a lot more satisfying. See, for me, I never really had a problem with it. I know a lot of people had a problem. I never, from one, have never really had an issue with it. But I can understand if you basically shape that a little bit better, maybe like a Rico shape or a Haichi shape, like an hourglass shape, something like that. I think it'll really a lot more comfortable, more contoured in the hand. Because that's a lot of blade that you're swinging around. It's a lot of steel there,
Yeah, Scab, I'm throwing him a softball and he's missing it altogether.
You couldn't lob it any better.
The number one thing that people have always complained about the practical katana was the handle was glued.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
We're gonna hopefully the next version the handle will not be glued. You'll be able to remove the handle. That is the current goal.
You got to spell it out for Joe. You can't.
I never really worried. I never approached that sword that way in terms of being glued or not, because I never actually attempted. Because to be honest with you, with all the cutting that I did with that sword, and what I did with that in the swamp. I mean, I did a lot. I put a lot of abuse. I have yet to see anything on that sword come loose or concern to the point where I need to take it apart and fix it. So it's never really, I've never encountered a problem with it where it says, oh, it's glued and now I can't fix it. That's me personally.
Yeah.
Well, that's the one I like.
I think our buddy Matt will probably disagree.
Yeah, that's the one I brought in. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but no, that's one thing I want to improve is to be able to, people can take it apart, clean underneath the habaki and things like that. And that's always been the number one complaint. There's some, there was on like the Renaissance side sword, there was an issue with the grip. After some use, the grip was coming loose. So this repair to fix that we've had it for a while, but I don't know if Hanway ever implemented it or not. But I sent that to Frenchie, and Frenchie's going to be correcting that. There's a lot of, there's so many products we're trying to improve upon. One of the things we're talking about is like I don't know if you have a tactical Wakizashi, and if there's tons of people are fans of the tactical walks.
I don't have
We're
that.
looking
No.
at doing something other than Creighton for the handles. We're thinking about changing that to G10. I don't like Creighton. I mean, it's not my favorite handle material in the world, and I think G10 would be a significant upgrade to that. Upgrading, finish, now is a great time for people to get acquainted with Dragon King, because a lot of the things that you're going to see in Dragon King that has made it awesome is going to be now applied to the Hanway, which really the Dragon King factory is the old Hanway, guys. I mean, it's pretty much as it has been since 2015. So, but you can expect a lot of upgrades and polish and finish and tightness and fittings, and there's going to be a whole lot of across the board of improvements. So, but there's a host of things that I'm looking at improving to make the product better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the current versions. It's just there's some things that we could tighten up, little things that we could do better. Everybody's talking about the Suka shape. That is something that we have talked about repeatedly. And a lot of times it just gets down to, all those are hand cut, and there's some people that think, I'm always shocked when people think that Suka is like one piece and they hollow it out. No, it's two pieces of wood that's, sandwiched together, that's how they make them. But there's some people that have got this mentality that it's like a hollowed out ball bat, and that's not how it's done. So anyways, but yeah, there's a lot of things that we're trying to improve. The first production run will be interesting, and I'm sure there'll be some things we'll have to adjust, but this is what happens when you're doing handmade product. I mean, it's just the nature. But I'm excited. I sound like a crazy person when I say this, but I'm really excited about what we got coming, because we're going to be able to do some things and make upgrades that we needed to make for years that we weren't able to do with Hanway because they were struggling. It was hard to get them to make some changes because they were, just trying to get things made.
That's the good news. As far as if there's anything I'm going to be taking away from this, is the fact that, yeah, Hanway closed a lot. You kind of, you feel bad for the people that lost their jobs, and you want to make sure, you would hope that a lot of them could be able to kind of rebound and get jobs somewhere else. There's a lot of sword makers there too, though. It's not just, they could find work other places. I think they should be able to find work, but the point is that it looks like Hanway is going to be a better product. It's going to be an improved product. It's going to be under Frenchie. You're going to have new equipment. Let's just say, new factory, a newer factory, let's just say, and the products look like they're going to be improved. And I think that's pretty exciting to see at least Hanway getting a boost, and
we're going to be able to do new product.
Yeah.
We've had things in development for years that we've not been able to produce. I mean, when's the last time you saw a new Hanway product?
Yeah, no.
I know it's a crazy idea. It's just like something new. But yeah, we got new Hanway products, and that we're going to be able to develop.
Yeah, I just got this Swift Vendetta. You keep on asking the same question, buddy, and I keep on answering you. You need to call up Patrick if you have an issue with something. Please give him a call. He'll take your call. Tell him you were in the chat, and I'm sure he will help you out with anything that you need, my friend.
If there was a product that you bought from any retailer, you should be able to contact that retailer and return it. And if they bought it from us, we will take, if there's a legitimate manufacturer's defect, we will be glad to take a look at it and take it back. But you have to return it to whomever you bought it from. If you bought it from us directly, you need to contact me directly. Right. If you bought it from one of our retailers, they have to honor the manufacturer's warranty.
All right. So hopefully that answers your question there, buddy. All right. Yeah.
But Eric, more XLs and Elites would be nice. Yeah, we would be. And they are on my top of my list, is making sure we get the XLs and all the Elite, all those products back on the market. They are easily in my top 20. So
I'm most excited about those, I think, after you're telling me.
I'm just excited we're going to get to do new stuff.
Yeah. It's an advent. It's a lot of good things coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but you know, we're going to be able to make some changes, some improvements, and you know, it's going to be a good time. There's going to be a few months where it's going to really suck. I'm just going to be honest about that up front. There's going to be a gap, you know, when the inventory is going to get thin, the selection is going to get narrow, and hopefully we're going to be able to, you know, hope we got to get through. We got to get through this first batch, and then once we get through this first batch of products, then we're going to rotate to the next product. You know, we got like I don't know, like a 5-6 phase plan that we're trying to implement. So it's a bit of a challenge when you're looking at, you know, Hanway was, I want to say it's over 200 products, and you know 90% of those were swords. Or yeah, I was saying yeah, nice, yeah, easily 90% of that was swords, and then you got to look at which you got to look at our current inventory. This is what we have in stock. This is what is out of stock. So what's about to be out of stock, and then we got okay. Well, we need to focus here first because we're out of this, and then we got to project. How many we're going to be able to, how many we're going to be able to make. Get resources. I mean, it's not like you can just go to the local Walmart, get, oh, okay, I need 5 tons of steel.
Listen, it's understandable. It's a process. It's a process you have to go through to rebound, to get, because obviously the designs have to go in, the improvements are going to be made, new products are going to be designed. There's going to be a process before you guys get to a point where, all right, this is what these are the new swords, and this is what's going to go in production. So there's going to be some time that we have to kind of wait until it gets there. But until then, Cas Iberia's got a lot of swords, so a lot of brands there. Dragon King is definitely always an option, and I always tout Dragon King.
Yeah, there's plenty of entry level katana in Dragon King. I can't. I've always said this. I always felt like Dragon King was definitely bang for your buck. The Autumn Leaf, the Spring Sakura, the Winter Sun, all those are great entry level katana. And then we introduced the differentially tempered versions.
Yeah, all forged
into last year. So, but I mean, now's a great time to familiarize yourself with Kingston Arms, Legacy Arms, Dragon King. I'm really excited. That this will be that's your opportunity to see if you felt like there was a quality control issue with Hanway, we'll look at the Dragon Kings and put one in your hand and see if that's what you think that's going to be a problem. It's not. Frenchie and I are always going back and forth on things that we need to improve. I'm like, this is great. Keep doing this. We need to look at this over here and see what we can do about tightening that up. And Frenchie does have that mentality of setting a standard and improving, and that's the standard. And then we're just slowly just moving up the quality. He has that mindset. It's not just stamp out something and move on. He does have a lot of pride in what he makes. So
excellent. All right, listen. I'm satisfied. I mean, I like the future seems bright. I mean, you don't like to hear the news, but the future seems bright for Hanway, for Cas, and really looking forward to what is coming out. I liked what I'm hearing about the practical line, and I'm sure as you have more information, you could just, we'll hook up on it and try to get it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just, it's sad. It's a sad situation, but Phoenix is going to rise from the ashes is how I look at it.
Yep.
We're going to try to do our best to make some improvements. I think the biggest challenge as of late, other than the hard realities that we have to face, is thinking, why we have an opportunity to make improvements, and we have to stop and say, why did we do this? Why did we go with this design? Well, there was a reason back in the 2000s, but does that reason still hold water today in 2025? We used this steel back then because, it was the best option. Well, it's not necessarily the best option today. There's something better today. What are we going to change that to? Or this material? So there's a lot of that because the easy thing would be to do is just rinse, wash, and repeat. But we don't want to rinse, wash, and repeat. We want to make it better. We want to improve. And, some things are good. The practical katana in itself is a good product. And there's, there, other than a few minor tweaks, to this and that, it's still virtually the same thing that's available today. It's just going to have, you're going to be able to take the handle off, hopefully, once we get it all figured out. And then you're going to be able to, take that habaki off and clean it, clean underneath if you're cutting with it. And then,
call me crazy, but I've taken the handle apart.
On the Plus?
Yeah.
Well, the Plus you can.
No, the XL, the XL.
On the Practical Plus, the Practical Plus you could. You just couldn't do it on
I've taken mine apart.
6000.
Yeah, I have taken it apart before. So it wasn't mine personally wasn't glued in. You know, but that's good. Listen, excellent. Pat, Scab, anything else?
Y'all y'all go over to APOC, and I know it's a Hanway deal, but go over to APOC and check out Mike Wallace's Puko. I think a lot of you would like that. I really do. And Patrick, thank you for sending these to me. I've got a newfound favorite to play with. Y'all check that out. And the whole thing is this. I'm glad you came, Patrick. I always am, but I'm glad to put a little bit to clear up some of the narrative. The narrative is always, well, they all work for the government. It's all CNC machined. It's it's the same bullshit in and out. And whether there's a trade war or not, these folks have nothing to do with it. They're like us. They work. They have families. And I hate to see it. Having been let go because of doing dumb shit, not, it sucks. And I hate it for them. But I thank you for coming on, man. And, everybody just check. Hey, look, the other thing is this. Joe's mentioned it 14 times. If you got a problem with the product, it does no good to bitch about it on social media. And I'm not being an ass. Go to them. And if they don't do something, then bitch about it on social media. But Patrick has always been a stand-up dude, but go to the suppliers, man. That's the only way they know to make improvements. That's the only way they know to fix things. The man doesn't have time to sit in message boards, and I've seen people. I've complained about it everywhere except to the right person. So that's it, dude. Thank you for being on, and guys, thank y'all for hanging out with us. Joseph, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, guys, if you don't tell them that there's a problem, they don't know there's a problem. So it's just a matter of it's our duty to basically let them know, listen, this is an issue, this is what I got, and then they can correct it from there. So guys, do not forget, since we all also on the topic of Dragon King, these new modern wakizashis with the bohi are really fantastic. Great cutters. They just made such an improvement on the polish. I mean, the fact that they're improving them, which is excellent. And these are just such a great option in terms of the modern line, the wakizashi, the katana, and the tanto. It's a holy trinity. It's a whole set. I have a dozen videos on these things online, but definitely check out some of their new lines. Just great products coming in. Patrick, much appreciated, my friend. And I'm really happy we got you on and we cleared a lot of things up.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking the time.
Well, I want to thank you, Joe and Scab, for having me, and I appreciate your audience being on here. I was trying to keep an eye on the chat and answer any questions that popped up, but if there was anything that wasn't answered, you just reach out to us and ask. I mean, realistically, everything's okay. It's just, like I said, swords are still coming from Dalian, China. It's just the factory down the street now, and I'm very optimistic about the future. I think there's a lot of good things. It's something bad had to happen for something good to come out of it, unfortunately.
Right.
And like I said, there's plenty of inventory out there for you to buy. If you don't see it on the Cas site, there's plenty of our dealers that have got it. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time out and giving me an opportunity to speak to your audience. And if there are problems, I do want to know about it, but I want it to be communicated to me in an intelligible way. I do have a file folder that I save, people that send me stuff, that sounds, legit. I do hold on to it and I do listen to it. But if you just call me up and say, this sucks, or, I'm okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Thank you. Have a nice day. But, I do listen to constructive feedback and I do save it. And when I feel that it is, warranted. But, you also have to have a realistic expectation for what you're buying. If you're buying a $500 sword and you're expecting $1,200 quality, that's a whole different ball game. So that's my soapbox moment from the manufacturer's side. So, but again, I do appreciate it, guys, and I'm anxious for this container to get here so I can send you some new and exciting product that's coming out.
We are too. Yeah.
We
Looking
are
forward
too.
to your review. I want to see you take that into the woods.
I'll do it this
That
weekend.
looks good. Definitely. I'll hold you to it. All right, guys. Thank you for being with us on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Everyone in the chat for sticking with us. Much appreciated. And please, as always, if you have any questions, any other questions, put it into the comment section. I'm sure we can get it over to Patrick or call Cas, like he said, and we'll take it from there. So until the next one, Patrick, we'll see you when we see you next time. Any updates? We'll get them over. Have a good one. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Awkward pause while it goes out.